to kind of give you guys a glimpse of how to access reports and troubleshoot these reports. So like I said before, these demos are posted on our website. So if you guys, like I said, have any questions or whatnot, like I said, feel free to ask at any time. So as you can see that this presentation is 93 pages. Of course, I'm not going to go over the disclaimer. You guys are well aware that these trainings are offered for free to your districts there at no charge. Okay. There is a contact, Melissa Hennon, very nice lady, that if you guys need any questions or whatnot pertaining to this particular training, that you guys can contact her there. Her email address is there. Okay. So today, like I said before, we're going to be covering the CTE FTE reports, okay, and how to troubleshoot specific reports that you guys may receive. CTE FTE reports are generated for local education agencies, LEAs, which is you guys, who have students reported with CTE EMIS data. The CTE program funding is generated through CTE FTEs, which are a part of the CTE FTE reports. So this presentation will provide data verification and error resolution guidance. Like I said before, there's a couple of demos posted on our website. So if you guys, like I said, have access to those, we're going to go over those as well pretty thoroughly so you guys can understand how to troubleshoot those actual reports that you guys receive. So today we're going to be covering a few topics here pertaining to the CTE FTE reports. Of course, they are the level 2 reports, which I know a lot of you guys are very familiar with in terms of accessing these reports in the data collector. Accessing and formatting level 2 CTE reports, understanding the CTE FTE detail report, as well as the error detail reports, the summary reports. We're also going to be going over CTE overrides, okay? And finally, we're going to be going over the CTE FTE daily summary reports, okay? So these are the topics we're going to be discussing today. So for the CTE FTE level 2 reports, as you ladies are well aware, you guys can access the reports here in the data collector, which it will show here shortly. So for your level 2 report, you guys receive the following reports, okay? You receive a CTE FTE detail, okay? You receive a student error detail, okay? And these are reports of students with error result codes, okay? You receive a CTE course error detail, and these are reports of courses with error result codes. And finally, you receive a CTE staff error detail. And this is, of course, for any staff that have any errors or any result codes listed with them. Okay. All of these reports, your CTEA 000, 01, 02, 03, all these are going to be located in the staff actual reporting period. And I can actually go over those there, like I said, shortly here. So you guys can see where these reports are located. There are three more, which is your CTFT summary by course. This is a summary report by course with course potential and actual FTEs. Your 005, this is your summary by category CTFT report. This is a summary report by FTE fund pattern code and CTE fund category with course potential and actual FTEs. And then finally, this is the CTE approved overrides. This is your report of overrides approved by the Office of Career Tech and applied to your CTE funding process. And we'll get into the approved overrides here later on. But like I said before, these are generally the reports that you guys will see under your level 2 reporting. Okay. There are a few more here, and these just apply to your 007 report. These are your students district, which is educating. So this, for example, contains CTE FTEs summed by CTE fund category numbers. Okay. Your 008 report, which is your daily summer report, students initially funded at the district. So this is going to contain CTE FTEs summed by the result code and CTE fund category number. And like I said, I will go over each of these reports in detail here as we move along. your CTE 009 report. Now, this is going to be your report for your transfers. This is going to contain CTE FTEs summed by the result code and CTE fund category number. So you're going to have your transfers report, your students initially funded at the district, which is your 008 report, and your 007 report, which is just your daily summary. Okay. So like I said before, all these reports you'll be able to access here, and I'll be able to basically point out where you can get these access these reports here shortly. So for your CTE report data, your CTE reports use EMIS data, of course, the EMIS data that you submit for the following collections: your initial and final staff and course collections, which is your L reporting, okay? Your calendar collections, which is all tied in, of course, to your staff reporting, as well as your S collection, which is your student collections, okay? CT reports are updated nightly using EMIS data. We're going to knock on wood because sometimes I know that over the summer, it's updated every other day, sometimes 3 days or whatnot, just because the reporting period can get kind of busy at times, okay? Submitted as of 5 p.m. A lot of you guys are well aware, as long as you guys get your data in before 5 p.m., it should generally process the next day. But like I said, sometimes over the summer, we know that's not the case sometimes. CTE reports can contain EMIS data from other districts. And a lot of you guys are well aware that other districts will report their data as well. And you guys will see some information from your CTE reports basically coming from those districts too from time to time. So these reports here, you guys want to generally review to make sure that you guys are caught up and up to date, whether or not it be from the information you submitted or from what other districts have submitted, okay, over the course of time. So, like I mentioned before, we're going to get into how to access and format level 2 CTE reports. Okay. So as I've mentioned before, in accessing these CTE reports, okay, in the data collector there under your staff and course collection, which is generally sometimes in your final collection there, okay, you're going to see a level 2, of course, option there that you guys can click on in the data collector. And when you see that option there for the level 2 reports, you guys are well aware that you guys can access your CTE reports. So here they give you basically a snapshot of what this screen looks like, which is your level 2 reports. Once you click on that there, okay, it's going to bring you to this next snapshot, which is a pretty good synopsis there for those who may not be familiar, okay? Basically, you can click on your level 2 reports, and then down below, okay, you can use your filter, which basically you can just type in CTEA there for report name includes, which is in the type bar there. And then down below, you just click on show reports down below. When you click on show reports, it's going to generate all those CTEA reports and codes that I've mentioned before, okay, which you guys should be able to see on this next slide here. All these reports here are going to be generated here, okay, and this is based off the EMIS data that you submitted, and you'll be able to get your reports. So for example, okay, you have your CTE FTE Detail report, which is the first report mentioned above, your 001 report, which is your student error detail, 002, 003, and going all the way down to your 009 report. All these reports you're going to be able to access under your level 2 reports. Okay. These reports are, like I said, usually generated. Sometimes they're processed overnight. As you can see, sometimes it may take a little bit, like I said, depending on the reporting period. But this is the screen that you'll be able to see, okay, when you click on the level 2 reporting period there. Okay. Any questions pertaining to how to access these reports, or is anybody that's been having issue trying to access these reports before I move on? Okay. So for those of you in here, I know that this is kind of a review, but I just wanted to kind of go through it I know there's a couple people that are still getting acclimated to this, but this is how you will be able to access these reports. Okay. So This training wanted to put an emphasis on level 2 report dates. Like I said before, um, processing dates there. This is when do successfully process the data used in the report for the entire state. Okay, so you'll see that down below where it says process date. Last updated date. This is when the report was updated with the data that added, changed, or removed rows. If no rows changed, then the date remains unchanged. Okay. So I know sometimes when we see the last updated date, sometimes we'll say, hey, why is this date haven't changed? What's going on with ODE or whatnot? Yo, I processed this information this day and it's not changing. My last updated date's not changing. What's going on? Sometimes it is on ODE's end in terms of them not just basically processing the data accordingly. And then sometimes, like I said before, if anything did not change, those dates will remain the same. So keep that in mind. And then you have your submission, and that's when the LEA submitted, which is, of course, your district. Okay. That's when that information was submitted. Okay. Down below, and there's a disclaimer here where they do mention that dates do not always appear as updated, even though data has processed correctly. Okay. And like I said before, some of you guys have basically let me know, and this was last summer. I know I got this a lot, where basically the information it says processed, but it wasn't processed, and then it just kind of created kind of a stir there. So like I said before, that's just a matter of us as an ITC just letting ODE know so they can get your information processed and up to date. Okay. That's going to happen from time to time, just going to giving you guys a heads up over the summer. So you just want to kind of be aware if you see something that doesn't appear right and you're saying, hey, Tim, I processed this and nothing has changed. They do have a quicker process from what I understand to where they can kind of get that, basically updated the next day. Okay. So of course, you're going to see your CTE report error categories. You guys are well aware. You're going to see your fatal, critical, warning, informational, and then your total. My motto is it's always work backwards. So you're going to work from your fatals, then criticals, then backwards there. If you do have warnings, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is a fatal or if there's something wrong. A lot of times it could be where you guys can report your information. You're saying, hey, Tim, look, this information is right. Why is this coming up as a warning? Well, ODE is saying that it may not be wrong either, but just go back and check your work just to see if everything is correct. If everything is correct and you feel like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and roll with it, then like I said before, that warning will not affect you in any way. The ones that you guys do want to focus on is your fatals and your criticals. Okay. And those focus on those first, okay, with an emphasis on those. So when formatting your basically your CTE FTE detail reports, you guys are well aware, okay? You can just go ahead and open these reports there and use your macro there and just basically applying your filters to basically kind of navigate a little bit faster through these reports, whether it's just be a couple of students that you guys have in these reports that you want to use, and you're saying, goodness gracious, this is a lot. You can kind of use your macro to navigate through the reports a little bit easier. And they emphasize this on every presentation to use your macro there on the actual reports that you guys generate. Any questions pertaining to this so far before I move on?
Just a comment,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people are using the macros. Obviously, those of you that are in the room, you don't have it set up on these computers. But Rebecca does have a short video, so if you wanna set that macro up and you're not sure how to do it, go to the EMIS support page and in the videos. It's in there.
Okay. Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate it. So, like I said before, if you guys have any questions or saying, hey, I need a quick tutorial, like Shelly said, Rebecca has a video that she posted that's pretty informational for you guys. So basically, this is a quick check here, and this is just to sum up the basics in which we went over. Are you able to access your most recent CTE reports? Have your reports been updated since your last review? And can you format the CTE reports to prepare them for review? Okay, so these are a couple of points on the quick check that they just want to kind of let you guys know about or be aware of. So just in case, like I said before, if there's any information that you may have missed, you can go back on that information and check that out there. Okay. So moving on here. This is understanding the CTE FTE detail report. Okay. A lot of you guys are pretty much familiar with this report, but this will be like a review for you. For some of those here, this will kind of be kind of a good detailed information outlook here. So just kind of be aware of what's going on. As you move along, feel free to stop me at any time here. Okay. So for your CTEA, this is your 000 report here. This is your CTE FTE detail report. Okay. These are going to contain rows of CTE data by the student and CTE course in which they are enrolled. Okay, so students with changes to their student standing, which is, of course, you guys are well aware, that is the FS standing in CIS or in DAZZLE. Okay, or some of you guys say grade book. Okay, your student attributes date effective page, which is your FD record, or student course records, which is your GN records. Okay, these can have multiple rows of data on the CTE FTE detail report. So down below, they did provide a very good snapshot here in which you guys will see what this report basically looks like. Okay. So of course, you have columns A, which is your IRN, the SSID, and columns B, which is of course that student there. Okay. Columns D and E and F, which is the demographics for the last, first, and middle name. And columns G and H is what they're pointing to there. You'll see the result code, and then you'll see the result code description. Okay. These are not error codes. So I just want to point that out. On a detail report, these are not error codes. These are just simply placeholders. So it's just kind of basically letting you know, hey, this is what this student has. This is the result code. It doesn't mean it's an error. It's just kind of giving you a description of what this report will look like. Okay. So on this report, as you guys navigate through the Excel file, okay, you navigate over, you will see columns I, J, K, and L, which is highlighted above, okay, and that'll be severity code. Sometimes you will get the F fatal severity code, okay. Those CT FTEs are reduced to 0. So you guys are well aware. Anytime you see that F code there, that is letting you guys know that there is basically no CT FTEs you guys are receiving. Okay. If you see a CT FTEs with a C, which is going to be your critical severity code, they are reduced, but it's not 0. Okay. So for F, it's 0. C, it is reduced, but not to 0. And then if you see the I, which is in columns I there, okay, the severity code, that means that those FTEs are not reduced. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, okay? For columns J, K, and L, okay, whenever you see a Y values in columns indicates the result codes on the student, course, and or staff error detail reports. Okay, so for example, anytime you see a Y there, that is letting you guys know that you guys will see that there on another detail report, which we will get into later on. If you do see it in there, that lets you know there that there is no errors there and you guys can go about your business and move forward. But if you see any Ys there, like I said before, is letting you guys know that there is basically an error, and then we'll just basically go over that and kind of let you guys be aware of what those basically mean and what those stand for. Any questions pertaining to this report before I move on? Feel free to stop me, like I said, at any time, okay? So here, and this is continuing on with your CTE FTE detail report, okay? This section of the report contains some of the course data that is used to generate the student CTE FTE information. Okay, so down below, they did a nice job of highlighting here what this actual report is and basically what it means in detail here. So in columns O, like I said before, it's mentioning this is basically the educating LEA. Okay, basically that's going to be your district IRN. Okay. And then, like I said before, sometimes it could be another district's IRN that is there in that data as well. Okay, so just be aware of that from time to time. You can see that on these reports. Okay, the course start and end dates come from the course masters. This is your CN record and do not reflect when the student was enrolled in the course. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well. So in columns Q and R, you will see a start date and a course end date. And like they mentioned before, it's not going to reflect when the student was enrolled in the course. Okay, so just want to keep that in mind as well. So continuing on in columns A, C, and AD, okay, once again, they highlight the fact with the course enrolled end date, okay? The course enrollment start and end dates reflect a student's actual enrollment dates in the course and come from the student course record. You guys are well aware of that, okay? So basically, any information that you guys are submitting in Gradebook, and once you submit it overnight for it to be processed in a data collector, anything that you submit with those students there is going to reflect on this report for those who are in your career tech programs. Okay, so as you can see in columns AE on over, that's going to reflect the course that you guys had set up. So of course you can see the curriculum code, the delivery method code, all that information is reflected on the courses that were set up within your district. Okay, so this is just a report just verifying what courses that these kids have and what I'm saying and how they're set up. So columns S through AB and AJ, okay, contain data used to determine the flow of funding as well as the CTE FTE values. Okay, so we'll review these columns here in the next slides, but here is kind of giving you a breakdown, and you guys are well aware, and we went over this in a previous training or whatnot in terms of the pattern codes, which is your funding pattern codes there. Sometimes you'll get the RGJV, which we know is a specific funding pattern code. And then on over, like I said before, we're going to go over this here, but it kind of just gives you a breakdown of each column, which you'll see in the detail report, what it represents, okay? The columns Y, which you'll see there, which is your original FTE, column Z, of course, if it was adjusted, okay? Columns AB, initial funded IRN, etc. So we'll go over this here in detail here shortly, just to kind of let you guys be aware in detail on what these columns represent. So for CTE FTEs, Career Tech is funded through student CTE FTEs. You guys are well aware of that. Students associated with multiple LEAs can appear on more than one CTEA 000 CTE FTE Detail report. So for example, students who attend another LEA for a contract career tech or through a special education cooperative will appear on the Educating and Resident Districts CTEA 000 Detail report since the funding passes through the resident district. Okay. CTE FTEs are calculated for each row on the report. So students can have multiple CTE FTEs calculated for the same course due to changes to their student standing, which is of course in your FS standing, FS tab in the gradebook category there. Your student attribute effective date, which is your FD record. A lot of you guys are very much aware of that, and DAZZLE or student course GN records, okay? And those would be the course records assigned to the students, okay? So basically, like they said, any CTFTEs that are calculated, okay, it's coming from one of those three categories, your FS, FD, and student course, which is your GN records. Any questions pertaining to this before I move on? I know sometimes you guys will make changes or whatnot, so I just want to, see if you guys were well aware of that or if you guys have any questions pertaining to that at all. Okay, it was silent, so I guess not. So moving forward here, I previously discussed the FTE fund patterns there. Of course, like I said before, you will see the funding pattern codes, which they do give you some examples there. You have your RGJV, your CTVC, SPCO, etc. Okay. Initially funded IRN, that is the CTE FTE funding initially that goes to this IRN. And then you have your transfer to IRN. This is in columns AA, which I showed in a snapshot above here previously. This is the CTE FTE funding, which will be transferred to this IRN. When this is blank, the funding goes to the initially funded IRN. So keep that in mind. Whenever you see in columns AA, if that is blank for any reason, just keep in the back of your mind that that funding goes to the initially funded IRN. Okay. So for inclusion codes, typically you will see these in columns AJ, okay, which indicate where the CTE FTE will be counted. So for the full, okay, this is included in the ADM of the district receiving the report. And then none you'll see in that columns AJ, which is not included in the ADM of the LEA receiving the report. So since most funding now flows directly to the educating entity, inclusion codes will most often appear as full. Okay. Situations where transfers will still occur are, of course, with contract career tech students or special education cooperative students. Now, if any of you guys have any issues in terms of transferring career tech students, okay, just let you know when you guys access your report in columns AJ, typically now you're going to see those inclusion codes will appear as full. Okay, so it's not going to be any like really like suddenary changes or whatnot, okay, to this report. You guys may be well of that or well aware of that, or if you guys weren't, this is the reason why. They kind of made this changes a couple years back, just because it was causing so much confusion when accessing the reports. I know a lot of EMS coordinators were kind of getting frustrated with why the inclusion codes were all over the place. So they kind of made the changes there to just appear as full. Okay. Any of you guys been having any issues with your inclusion codes at all? Just before I move on, anybody? Okay. So for your CT categories, subject codes, and programs, okay, your CT fund cat, and this is the numbers in columns T, okay, and we're still on the detail report here, okay. So I'm gonna go here and just kind of show you guys where all this is. It's kind of a lot, but just wanted to kind of show you guys. And give me 1 second here. So if you guys have this actual demo file here, I'm in columns T here, which I have highlighted, okay? This is basically what section that we're on. Now, the other sections that I did previously talk about was, like I said, your funding pattern code, which is, of course, the RGJV. We touched base on this on the last training there. This is just basically indicating which funding type that each student has pertaining to this report, okay? You have your state equivalent, which is basically the grade in which the student is in, okay, in columns V. So all this information here, you can pretty much navigate. If you want to use your macro, of course, you just go ahead and click on this top row here, okay? And then just go ahead and give a filter there. And then, like I said before, you can kind of navigate a little bit easier on this detail report in terms of, hey, you know, if you guys want to select a traditional IRN, you guys can do so, okay? Your SSID. So say, for example, if you're saying, look, this is too much, I only need a couple of them, you would just go ahead and select those, okay, and only bring up those students there, okay? I just wanted to kind of show you guys this just because I know it goes over this in detail, but you can kind of navigate through it a little bit easier, okay, this way, okay? In columns AE, which is what we discussed before, you'll see the OT, that double F there. This, of course, is representing your student course code, which is your GN records there, okay? So like I said before, a lot of you guys are familiar with this report, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys when they're saying all this in the presentation, this is just what it's referring to on your actual detail report here. So just want to kind of share that so you guys can kind of be well aware. Okay. Any questions so far? I know this is kind of like blah, 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 like Charlie Brownish type, but I just want to kind of go over everything here. Any questions so far?
Are so good.
Okay. So of course you have your categories here. This, like I said, details categories 1 through 5. And this is going to be in columns T. So for category 1, this is your WFD in agriculture and environmental systems, construction technology. It just basically kind of gives you guys in category 1 what sort of subject codes and programs are associated with each category. So for category 2, you have that in business administration, hospitality and tourism. So like I said, it kind of look at it as tiers, right? Each category, basically, these are which the subject codes would fall under, okay? Category 3, which is your career-based intervention programs. Category 4, you have your education and training, marketing, etc. Category 5, you will have your family consumer program. So basically, it's breaking down each program into categories, okay, in layman's terms, okay?
Tim, two
Yes,
things,
yeah,
go back to that slide, please.
yes.
Couple of them have WFD at the beginning.
Mm-hmm,
What
mm-hmm.
does that stand for?
Oh, in education. Oh, well, darn. It's in
Do
education.
we know what the WFD stands for
You know what? I
in
do not.
category 1?
I think it's work. It's some, I'll have to look it up. I have a brain freeze right now. It's abbreviated to short. It's like, I thought it was working, so for working something. Work.
Tricia thinks it's workforce development.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it was workforce. I knew it was work. I knew it was work something. Brain freeze. Thank you, Trish. Appreciate that. But they just abbreviate it
Yeah.
for short.
And I want to make a comment on this slide because I know more special ed than CTE.
Mm-hmm.
So with this, category 1 is paying the highest, and then down to category 5 is the lowest, which is opposite of special ed. So special ed, your special ed categories, 1, you get the lowest, and 6, you get the highest. So just kind of think of that in 2 different areas. So of course, you know, ODE can't do anything normal and the same, so they're completely opposite.
Thank you there, Shelley. And like I said before, thank you, Trisha, for that. I just had a brain freeze. Yeah, so it's abbreviated there, but like you said, it's in special ed, just kind of related to that. So appreciate that, Shelley. So for CTE category 0 here, this occurs when a course with an academic subject code is reported with the following, okay? You have a curriculum element of PS, which of course is going to be your college credit plus, okay? And a delivery method of CP, which is your career tech college credit plus course. This occurs when a course is reported with a CTE curriculum element with a non-CTE subject code. Keep that in mind, okay? These courses do not generate career tech funding. So if any of your districts there have basically created these courses or whatnot, please, 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 please check how you guys have categorized these courses, okay? Because that could be the difference between your district receiving funding and not receiving it. Okay, now listen, there's instances where you guys cannot help if the courses are set up a certain way. Okay, but I know sometimes if a treasurer comes to you and says, look, why are we not receiving funding for this particular student here? You can say, hey, this is the way the course was created. This is the way it was set up. And because of the way it was set up here, okay, we are not able to receive funding. Now, I don't know if some of your districts there have come into this situation before. Okay. But if there's a situation where this comes up, 9 times out of 10 is due to the fact of how the course is set up there. Okay. Has there been any issues with that with any of you ladies there in the room or on the chat?
It had nods.
Okay. Okay, great. So like I said, we can move on, but just wanted to kind of let you guys be aware. Okay. So I don't want your, treasurers acting funny with you guys and saying, hey, this is this. And you can say, look, these courses are set up a certain way. So just want to kind of point that out to you guys there. So in calculating CT FTEs, of course, you guys have the original FTE. This is calculated using students, the course encounter EMIS data, which of course is your S, your L, and your C collections. Okay. And then you have your adjusted FTE. These are the original FTEs minus any adjustments applied from errors. Okay. So of course you guys see in columns Y and in column Z, you have your original FTE in column Y. Column Z, okay, if anything was adjusted, you will see that number reflected in column Z, okay? Here, basically, and I know a lot of you guys are pretty much familiar with this, but if you guys just want to kind of get a refresher, this is how they basically calculate those CTFT calculations, okay? And this is calculating the original CTFT, and this is just a breakdown, okay, and what they use for the numerator, which is the student course days and the course days. They're divided by the course days. So basically, kind of gives you a breakdown on how they calculate these FTEs here, okay? The denominator, of course, would be your districts there, community schools. There's no community schools in the room or in the chat. So you would go down to the second bullet point there, which is the other LEAs. Okay. And traditional districts. Now, are you guys basically around the 1080 mark there? Just curious there. With the way your calendars are set up. Because I know community schools don't have to have as many hours at your traditional schools. Is that ring true for you guys? Just curious.
We're all 1080 then? It's quiet in the room.
Yeah, everybody thinks so.
Okay, okay. Just
So,
curious.
so if you're looking at if you're looking at your actual data, so the days enrolled in the course should be column W. And then the calendar days between this course start date and end date is columns Q and R. I just made a note for
No, you're
myself,
fine.
so if you're looking at, that's where they're pulling that information from.
Thank you, Shelley. And I was going to say, yes, that is correct there. So like I said before, this is just kind of giving you guys a glimpse on how they calculate this data here. Okay. And then your course days, you just use the calendar display report to calculate the course and student course days there. Okay. So basically you can access this actual report, and this is going to be in your submission files in the calendar collection. Okay. So you guys are well aware, whenever you guys want to access your calendar display, okay, you can go ahead and access that in your C collection. Okay. And this is going to be preview or your review files. So whenever you guys basically submit a C collection, okay, you should be able to basically preview and review those files and come up with the snapshot here they have down below, which is going to be your student session days, the hours, year-to-date days, and then the year-to-date hours. Okay. All that is reflective in that calendar submission there. Okay. So just kind of giving you a heads up with that there. Any questions with that? And plus two with the calendar submission, just FYI, that is a very helpful tool to use if you're saying, okay, look, I'm looking for how many hours do we have, just in case if you have time to say, okay, why is this off? Or you may look and see if students' information may be off a little bit. You can reflect back to your C collection and see, okay, what hours do I have in here, the student days, et cetera, to make those calculations there for yourself. Question in the chat there?
Yes, just a second, my screen went off. DCP courses do not receive CTE funding.
I do not believe so. I'm not aware of that.
Cheryl
Anybody
said
know?
some of,
Go ahead, Cheryl. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
we have our business program, which is CCP and career tech. There's a
Mhm.
special way to code it.
Mm-hmm.
And then our CCP are coded as CTE related academics. So we get funding for those too.
Brenda, could you hear Cheryl's response? Okay.
You said it was a business course and what else?
Business and some of our academics.
So Cheryl, is there any way you could share that information? We have ag courses that are CCP. And
Brenda, can you hear?
Yeah, she was, I guess her mic must be kind of off. She was going in and out.
can you hear me?
Brenda, do you have a comment? You're unmuted. But we
Okay.
can't really hear you.
Must be someone her mic.
Okay, we'll see if she puts anything else in the chat.
Okay. But yeah, Cheryl, I was going to say, you guys don't receive any funding, right, for those? Just to kind of review. I thought no one did for those particular classes.
This program in particular is College Credit Plus and Career Tech.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we do.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And Brenda, like I said, put it in the chat if you I know you had a question and it kind of cut off there. Okay, I think she put it in there.
Cheryl, the comment, she asked if you can send the coding information on the course that receives both the CCP and the CTE.
That's Brenda.
Yes.
Will you send that to me as well? Sure. Do you want me to email you or will you remember?
I should remember.
Okay.
I'll put a note.
Thank you.
Or if you send it to me, I can send out a follow-up
Okay.
and send it to everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks, Cheryl. So for your non-community school CTE student examples, like I said before, this kind of just gives you a breakdown on how those calculations come about to determine the actual CTE FTEs that you guys will receive. Okay. So like I said before, if you guys were looking for a reference to use, you guys have a pretty good one here in terms of how those CTE FTEs are calculated. Okay. Any questions pertaining to this here? Like I said, we can resend this out to you. There's a section that I have here that, I can send out, and I can give you this, Shelly, too, to send out as well, just in case if there's anyone there that's looking, for calculations. This is a good model to kind of use in order to get those calculations met there for your district. Community schools, we don't have any community schools here, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip this here. Okay. So in summary, here are all approved CTE program students appearing on your report. You guys just want to make sure and check and verify to make sure that those students are appearing there. Are the CTE FTEs being calculated correctly? Okay, so that's just a matter of just reviewing. Okay, and can you reconfirm that the CTE FTE funding IRNs and FTE fund pattern codes are correct? Once again, that's just a matter of just checking your detailed report just to make sure that once you guys submit your data, that all that information reflects on this actual detailed report. Okay, so it's a matter of basically summing up everything here, just basically checking and just reviewing your data from time to time. I know, like I said, in the world of EMIS, things can get kind of crazy. So whenever you have some downtime, you can just go ahead and click on that there just to review, see if everything is correct there.
Tim, we have a question in the room.
Sure.
Are any middle school courses funded CTE? Like, we have some coded that way. But I think they're all on this report and we're not getting funding, and maybe that's just how it is.
We have them too, and Ben told me that it was, didn't count for funding, that they would stay on the report, but we would get any funds for them.
For middle school.
Yeah, until they
CTE.
were in high school is when
Right,
they would
so-
start.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, I was going to say all the funding doesn't start. They'll be on the detail report. I believe, was that Tia that said that there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's right. So typically on your detail report, you'll just see the middle schoolers. That's just for informational purposes there. The funding starts in high school.
Okay.
And thanks, Tia, for that. So Moving forward here, and this is the troubleshooting the CTE error detail reports here. Okay, so this is just going to go into detail on how you would troubleshoot these actual error detail reports. Okay, kind of give you some tips on how to navigate through these reports as well. Okay,
Hey, Tim,
yes,
this is Rebecca.
yes.
I just added CTE program and assessment matrix to our resources on the EMIS support page.
Okay,
Just in case people want access to that. That way they can navigate and get to that matrix.
I also put it in the chat, but since you guys aren't in the chat, on the EMIS page, if you go to career tech data accountability, in the career tech area, you can get to the program matrix. I just type it in CTE program and assessment matrix, and it will pop you up to this screen.
okay. Thanks, ladies. Appreciate that.
Comments in the chat from Lori that they
Okay.
are receiving FTEs for middle school courses. But Lori, is that because your eighth graders are at the high school? Or you're talking actually courses at Edgewood?
They are courses at Edgewood. They were added to that, whatever that CT 26 this year. So this is the first year, but yes, we are getting funding for all of our middle school children.
And are they receiving this? Are they receiving these services from like Shelley said from the high school?
No, they are in the middle school. It's a middle school teacher. It's a category 4 funding. All of them are. But yeah, it's like the original FT and the adjusted FT are the same. It's not very high, but yeah, they did do something with that CT, to get it approved. But yeah, our middle schoolers do get funding.
And you're saying it's a category 4?
Yeah, because I just happened to look all the courses up. It's under career connections, subject description.
So that must
Yeah,
have been something that they incorporated either recently, because that's first time I've heard of that. And yeah, have you been receiving it all year?
yes. But this is the first year that they were able to get that approved at the middle school.
Okay, gotcha. So basically that was a situation where when you guys set everything up, that had to go through the area, 26 coordinators there to get that approved there.
I believe so. I don't do anything with that CT 26 report, but yeah, they're coded as VM for middle school courses. And yeah, they do get the funding.
Okay. So for Tia, and I believe is Vicky there as well, Shelley? I thought I heard her voice.
I think it was Trisha.
Okay,
that
Trisha,
first
sorry.
said it.
I'm sorry. So maybe what you ladies want to do is get with your area. Thank you, Lori, for that, because it's the first time I've heard that. For your get with the area 26 coordinators, or just see if there's someone in your district that handles that, and see for your middle schoolers if you guys can apply to, to get those courses approved, so you guys can get funding for them. Maybe this is
I'm
something
sure
that,
that's too late.
well,
Yeah, she's wondering if it's like this year.
well, I mean, you
I
can
think-
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Whoever was talking.
About this
Now.
time,
For the
that
next.
kind of
Ooh, for next
the
year.
end of the window for next year.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say thanks, Lori, because that's the first time I've heard of that. So, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so moving forward, learn something every day. So, down below here, you'll see a snapshot here of your level 2 reports. Okay, and they have highlighted and circled there your CTE student error detail reports. So you're going to see the error detail reports for your student, course, and staff. Okay. You want to remember that these error reports will appear as applicable to each district. So districts can receive any number of these 3 reports or none at all. Keep that in mind as well. Okay. So mainly a lot of times these error detail reports are being shown under level 2. Okay. So you guys just want to go ahead if possible, you can just by time to time click on these error reports here, kind of review your data. They're pretty self-explanatory here. Here is an example of one here, which I'll go ahead and share with you guys. So here is an example here of a CTEA 001 report here. And this is going to be an error report here, okay? Oh my goodness, there you go. Generated here. And let me know if you guys can see this here. This is generated here for the actual students, okay? And this kind of gives you a breakdown of, for example, SSIDs, what they may have an issue with in terms of the result code. So for example, in column C, you'll see the result code here, description. In column B, you'll see what the result code is, okay? C, a lot of times here, people will just say, I got a result code. Okay, well, what is it? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. I just got a result code. Can you tell me what it is? Well, typically they'll give you a description here. Okay. And that's pretty much in terms of what they're telling you in gradebook. Sometimes these kids may not be coded correctly. Okay. And you will get a severity code as fatal. Okay. So you want to go back there. Typically it's in the course. Okay. And just basically correct. For example, VP course does not have a valid curriculum code. You guys will see that from time to time. That's just a matter of you going into your GN records there and correcting that curriculum code. You'll have your grade level not valid for curriculum code in some cases there or whatnot, due to what that course is and what the setup is. It may not, they're telling you it may not be valid. Now, there are in some cases where courses are set up and it may give you a severity code of F here. Okay. And I've been told through DO or ODE for short that to ignore the error, it could be an issue with processing or whatnot with them. I've been told on other cases or whatnot to contact your area coordinator in order to get those classes approved. So it's a various issues as to why sometimes you will see these F codes here. Okay. But I just wanted to kind of give you an example in terms of what to look for when you're looking at your 001 student error detail report here, okay? Column B, you will see the result code there, okay? And then column C, it kind of gives you a description of what to look for. Typically, it's reflecting on the student course grade, which is your GN records there. Anybody have any questions pertaining to this report here? I just wanted to kind of give you guys a visual here on what to look out for.
Tim, are you gonna go back over the staff error?
Yeah.
Detail.
I'm going over each one. Yeah, of course. I'm going over each one.
Okay.
So you guys will be aware of what's going on. So this here is the student one. Okay. Let me pull up the staff one here. Give me 1 second here, ladies. And let me know if you can see the staff here. This is the CTEA 003.
Yep.
Can you guys see it there?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here, you're going to see the staff error report here, okay? Like I said before, same setup and format as the student one. You're going to have your result code here, okay? And we'll go over these result codes here later on to kind of give you a review, but this is what you're going to see here, okay? These result codes typically are going to have in column C next to it a result code description here, okay? Now, a lot of you guys will see the dreaded, and some of you guys will be like, oh my goodness, it'll say teacher does not have appropriate certificate license to teach course. Now, typically what happens is, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times it's all about basically an approval situation for some of these teachers here, okay? Sometimes the area 26 coordinators or whatnot depend on your district. I know some of them take a long time to get these actual teaching certificates or whatnot and licenses approved or whatnot. Are any of you ladies in here still having any issues with this result code here still?
No,
Anybody? Okay, great. Okay. On result code descriptions, you may see this is the length of teacher scheduled instruction is over 1,080 hours. Okay. Typically or whatnot, like I said before, these are generally the result code descriptions that you guys will see. Okay. Okay. And sometimes it will give you here, which is your subject code. Okay. Subject description, which is typically the course. Okay. And then over here, it'll basically give you in terms of local classroom codes here. So you'll be able to look up those local classroom codes in Gradebook and kind of navigate through there a little bit easier to try to get through those courses and just to see how you guys had them set up. Typically, like I said before, with your staff course errors or whatnot, this is the normally the actual layout that you'll see. Okay. It kind of gives you an easier way to navigate, like I said, using your local classroom codes in columns F. Okay. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a visual. I know as it's later on in the year, you guys won't typically see as many errors here. Okay. As pretty much this kind of can get cleared up here as the year gets on, goes on. But I just wanted to kind of share this with you as well. Was there any questions in the room, Shelley, for anyone who had a question about this staff error report?
no questions, and I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, great. So like I said, I just wanted to give a visual of that. Like I said before, a lot of times I said is that, with these reports, it can be kind of, difficult to navigate or whatnot, but I just want to kind of give a good, just description of what you'll see. Okay. They're pretty self-explanatory in terms of navigating through the courses or whatnot. Typically, if you just get with the courses or whatnot and then go in Gradebook, you can just go right to them and your courses there for your course setup. Go to there and then just see how you guys have those set up. Maybe there's something just could be throwing it off. It could be a delivery method. It could be the type of curriculum. So you guys just want to make sure that you review, okay, to make sure that you get that information there correct and up to date. Okay. So for the CTE errors, a staff level error can reduce the CTE FTE for all students and courses that are affected by the staff error. Okay. A course level error can reduce the CTE FTE for all of the students in the course. A student level error can reduce a single student's CTE FTE. And severity codes appear on the CTE FTE detail and the CTE FTE student error detail report. Okay. So just kind of giving you a heads up on what they're looking for or what to look for when reviewing these actual reports.
Then,
Yes, ma'am.
Just a suggestion that the staff run it first, because student errors may drop off when staff errors get fixed.
Thank you, Becca. Appreciate that. Thanks for the heads up with that. And then, like we said, and we just kind of went over this here, for your CTE staff error detail reports, and I kind of went over this here with your result code, okay? Typically for a report of staff with error codes that begin with SF, okay? We'll go over what these actual result codes mean. Like I said, typically if you just review your result code description, it'll give you a heads up to what they're actually looking for when these result codes are basically appropriated there. So when you have multiple teachers that are associated with the course, the teacher who appeared on the teacher licensure course status report, your TLC report, will be listed on this report. Keep that in mind, okay? Errors on the CTEA 003, which is what we just reviewed, CTE staff error detail report can affect an entire classroom of students. So a single line on this report could cause multiple students to be affected on the CTEA 000, which would be your detail report. Now, for all you ladies there that submitted your staff information before to receive your TLC report there, okay, with your TLC report, it's just letting you know when you do have multiple teachers that are associated with the course, the teacher who appeared on that TLC course report will be listed. So if you guys have any teachers that were not shown in that report, they can be shown on this staff detail report, okay? But the teacher who was on your TLC report will be reflected on this actual report there that you see. Do you guys have any questions pertaining to that? Because I know that can be kind of a little confusing there. Anything?
Nothing.
Okay. For the staff error result code, and this is your 002 report, or excuse me, code, I'm sorry. Teacher does not have appropriate certificate license to teach the course. So, as well as you guys would know, the CTE FTE is reduced to 0, which would cause a fatal, which is the severity code F that you'll see. You want to verify the teacher licensures using the educator search tool. Now, this uh, tool here, search bar here, is basically there for you guys to have, or excuse me, link is there for you guys to have, just in case you guys are not familiar. You guys can use this link to search those teachers there. Okay. The initial staff and course L data is used for this check. Keep that in mind. If the teacher is certified to teach the course and you are seeing this error, verify the course is coded correctly. Okay. And then you guys are well aware that you guys can contact the Office of Career Tech to request an override if it attains this particular situation there. Okay. So they also provide the link if you guys are not familiar with how to research those teacher licensures. And if you need an override, you just contact Office Career Tech to get that override approved. Staff error 004. This is the total CTE length of scheduled instruction for this teacher is greater than 1080. That means that your CTE FTE is going to be reduced. This is going to classify as a critical error. Due to mapped local classroom codes, records need to be reported. This would have to be referred to your EMIS manual, the good old EMIS manual. In section 4.6, okay, they kind of give you some details there in terms of how to have those mapped local classroom codes there, okay? Is the teacher teaching at multiple districts? When a teacher is teaching at multiple districts, all hours are used in this actual check. So you want to verify and make sure if the teachers are showing multiple districts, it will reflect in the basically in the CTE FTE being reduced. When there are multiple teachers associated with the course who are all over 1080, the one with the lowest hours is used. In the case of a tie, the lowest staff ID is used. Okay. So basically, this is just a breakdown of how OD is letting you know how they basically will calculate your CTE FTEs depending on this staff error result code. Okay. So just kind of giving you a heads up on how they make that determination there and the reduction of hours. Any questions to that so far? Okay. Staff error result code, and this is your 005 result code. This is a teacher of teaching profession course, does not meet degree level requirements. Then that would mean that this CTE FTE is going to be reduced to 0. If the subject code is reported as a teaching profession course, and they do give you the subject codes down below, staff must have master degree or higher. Staff demographics in the CI. So of course, you guys know that is in your staff reporting for your CI records. Record of education level element must be a 3 categorized as masters or 5 categorized as doctorates. If incorrected, reportedly in the initial L, correct the datum in the final L, and if the change does not correct the problem, create a ticket with ODE, and they will determine if that can be corrected. So this year, they're kind of cracking down in terms of determining whether or not districts are going to get credit for teachers who may not have the particular degree level requirements. So if you guys have any questions pertaining to that, or you guys are saying, hey, I'm not sure, I can forward a ticket to ODE or whatnot to make them make the determination of whether or not you guys will be good to go in your district. Okay. Any questions pertaining to this or whatnot? Anybody have any teachers that you may feel is on the fence, or is that pretty much corrected now? Okay, it's quiet.
Nothing, Tim.
Okay. Staff error result code, and this is your 06. Okay, course is not having assigned, excuse me, a teacher assigned. Of course, this is a fatal. Adjustment is generated when the course does not have a teacher assigned. So you just want to check the valid staff member that is make sure that they are assigned to this course during the initial staff and course collection, of course, which is your L collection. If the staff member was not reported, then no CTE FTE funding is generated. So you want to look for a fatal error or an excluded staff issue in your L collection. If it's inappropriate, excuse me, incorrectly reported in initial L, correct the data in the final L. And if the change is not correct the problem, just go ahead and let ODE be aware, or let us be aware so we can forward that to ODE. Okay. 007 just touches base on the total length of scheduled CCP, CTE instruction. Okay. And this is going to be typically if it's greater than 1080. CTE FTE students taught by this teacher is reduced by a factor equal to 1080 divided by the total length of scheduled instruction. So only applicable to CCP CTE courses, okay? Do any of these courses you want to ask yourself need to be mapped together? So you just want to just make sure that you check teacher courses, and if they are under 1080, ask the teacher if they are teaching at another district, okay? And then if they are not, just put in a ticket with us and we can forward to ODE. I know ODE has expanded their career tech department here. I know last summer they only had a couple people and they just got absolutely torched. So I know this year they increased that staff to where if you guys had any issues over the summer, which typically is when a lot of these questions are asked, they can kind of clear that up from what they were saying a little bit faster. So kind of letting you guys be aware. And then the course error detail report here, and to kind of go over this briefly here. This here is just basically just the same thing as the staff and students. It'll give you a result code and in column C, a result code description. Okay. So we're just going to kind of briefly touch base on what each one of these result codes mean and what they represent here. Okay. For your CS, and this is your 0001 result code for your course errors. This is your curriculum code that it's referring to that is reported is not valid for the reported subject. All this would basically mean is that when you're going into setting up these courses, make sure that the curriculum code basically matches up or whatnot, or basically is a good match for the actual course. Typically, if it isn't, then you're going to receive an error. Okay. Your curriculum code of PS, which is your College Credit Plus, CCP, reported with a delivery method code other than CP, Career Tech College Credit Plus course. Valid curriculum codes for each subject code can be found in the FY25 CT program and assessment matrix. Now, I know you lovely ladies had alluded to that before. Please review that if you guys are stuck or whatnot and saying, hey, I'm not sure if this actual curriculum code matches up with the subject code. You guys have the matrix there in which you guys can review in order to get that correct information there. Has any of you ladies been having any issues or whatnot with this? Or pretty much, I know it's later on in the year and it's pretty much set in stone, but is there anyone that's still having any issues pertaining to this here? It's quiet, so I'm assuming no. Okay. Result code 003. This is a V3 course not correlated to an anchor course. This would basically produce a fatal. The course is reported as a V3, CTE related, over correlated and not correlated to. And it kind of gives you some examples there. Okay. Basically with this error code, what this comes down to, just to sum up all this up here, check with your area coordinators just to make sure or whatnot that these courses or whatnot are basically good to go. A lot of times this can all be cleared up at the beginning of the year. Okay. So typically, if you set up these courses, I would advise to have those courses pretty much on a list, and especially with the teachers, so you guys can just let them know, hey, this is who I have matched up with this course. Can you let me know if this situation or these courses are good to go? And you typically shouldn't have any any issues as the school year goes along. Okay. Your 004 error code, and this is just instructional hours that are reported less than the minimum hours. Okay. This is going to be basically reduced to a fatal. Okay. Just make sure that your classroom codes are mapped out. Okay. You can actually refer to your EMIS manual and section 4.6. Okay. For guidance, if you're having any issues with mapping out your actual classroom codes. And actually, you can also use as a reference the program assessment matrix as well. Okay. So like I said before, with your course error codes, you can, like I said before, the matrix or whatnot is a good reference to use. If you guys have a lot more time on your hands, you guys can also refer to section 4.6 in your EMIS manual there. For result code 007, okay, this is just instructional hours reported are greater than the maximum hours allowed. This would be considered as a critical error. Okay, so you just want to check with the matrix there for the allowable hour, excuse me, for the allowable hours, okay, associated with the courses. A lot of you guys are familiar with this, but this is pretty much just a review. Okay, keep in mind though, whenever you do see this error code or result code, this is going to be considered a critical here. Okay. 008, this is just courses reported with the non-academic subject code and curriculum code, okay, which are not valid for funding. So for the subject codes that must begin with here, and they have listed below, for your English language arts 05, mathematics 11, science 13, and then social studies 15, okay? You just want to check the subject codes being reported against what appears on your CTE 26 information there, okay? With this CS0008, I'm not even sure if you guys even have this code still with your districts there. Like I said before, if you do, and if you're having any issues or whatnot, they're basically letting you know what the subject codes must begin with, okay? So like I said before, is anybody having any issues with this? This code came up a lot last summer. So are there's any issues with this code at all now? It's quiet, so I'm assuming no. Okay. For your result code 20, this is typically when the workforce development course was not approved by the Office of CTE. Okay, so anytime the program code, excuse me, the program or course was not approved, this will result in a fatal error. Okay, the program or concentration of a workforce development course not approved by the Office of a CTE, or excuse me, or not approved by the CTE Area 26 coordinators there. So you want to verify that the location IRN matches, verify that the district IRN matches, and verify the subject code is aligned with the program of concentration. If all the reported data is correct, you want to contact the Office of Career Tech to verify that this is an approved program. So basically what this boils down to in layman's terms, anytime you receive this code, just make sure you contact the Office of Career Tech just to make sure that the course is approved, okay? If it's not, we got to go back to the drawing board, okay? But if basically you guys feel confident that this course was set up properly, just verify that this is an approved program. Result code, and this is 0021, and this is an anchor course. VP and course V3 are not correlated. Basically, at the end of the day, you just want to check with your Area 26 coordinators just to make sure that basically that all your information just aligns. A lot of these course error result codes that you will see, this is a matter of communication, and I always stress this is to make sure, and typically you guys can kind of spot this at the beginning of the year, making sure that these courses are approved and ready to go. Now, believe it or not, I do have districts sometimes that will go into the year and just freestyle and just go. And then typically they'll get basically turned down for the courses, and then all bedlam breaks loose, right? So you just basically just want to check at the beginning of the year to make sure that you guys are ready to go with your courses in your district, okay? That's basically what all these course result codes basically center around, okay? Then again, you got your 0023, and this is just your CBI, FCS, or grad programs that are not approved by the Office of CTE. Okay. So you just want to verify at the end of the day that all the location RNs being reported for this course are accurate. Okay. Program reported with a location IRN and district IRN that is not approved by the Office of CTE will typically generate this result code. Okay, so this is going to generate a fatal. So just kind of letting you guys know to basically just check your subject codes just to make sure that all your information aligns right along with your actual programs. And like I said, this is just a matter of checking in with your Area 26 coordinator. I'm going to stop here, Shelly, and give everyone like a 5-minute break if possible, just because this next, all right. So where I left off here, and this is result code 0023. Okay. Basically with this actual result code here, and these are for grad programs not approved by the Office of CTE. A good place basically to kind of look to see, and it's basically list down below to verify the accuracy of the location IRN being reported for this course. Okay. A lot of times you can go into CIS and the FS standing. Okay. And down below, you should be able to use the locator search engineer or the little magnifying glass or inspector gadget glass there. Click on that there to basically kind of look and see, okay, the location of IRN that's being reported. Okay. Programs reported with a location IRN and district IRN that is not approved by the Office of CTE will typically generate this actual result code. Okay. So anytime you see this there, you just want to just make sure you verify the location where it's actually being taught or whatnot, or where this actual program is being offered. Because a lot of times, if it doesn't match up, you will see this result code here. Okay. So just kind of giving you guys a heads up there. For your CS 0024, okay, typically with this here, you can refer to section 2.8, okay, of the student assessment record. This will be located in your EMIS manual, okay? And this is basically just you looking to basically get your subject codes and location IRNs in CIS. So for example, we're looking at the FS standing again to navigate to get those particular subject codes and location IRNs correct. Anytime that there's these senior only credentials are not approved, okay, you will see an F for severity code, which is a fatal, okay. And like I said before, typically these subject codes start with a 3.8 and end with a 4-character assessment area code. And like I said before, you can refer to section 2.8 in the EMIS manual. These here will kind of give you some good pointers or whatnot to use in terms of how to navigate with using the correct codes there. Okay. If you guys have any questions pertaining to this, please just let me know at any time. But I think that section 2.8 is a good reference to use in terms of to get the correct credential courses there. Any questions, Cheryl, or any questions in the chat so far?
Nope, nothing.
For result code, and this is for 2020, excuse me, for 0025, okay? Like I said before, again, this is basically just making sure, okay, that you check with your area coordinator, CTE 26 coordinator, to make sure that the location RN is correct. Like I said, that is located in your FS standing, FS tab in CIS, okay, to where you can go ahead and get that proper location RN located, okay? Like I said before, a lot of these courses are basically kind of mapped out and navigated at the beginning of the year, but it's always good just to check or whatnot just before, even if you could, before the school year starts or at the beginning of the school year, just so you don't get so far along in the school year, to make sure that these actual programs are basically approved for the rest of the year. Student errors, I kind of went over this a little bit in terms of previously or whatnot. This is just going to go over and kind of give you basically some result codes here that you guys may see on your student error report. Okay. And like I said, I demonstrated some of these here to you guys. Okay. This kind of gives you a description of what each code represents. Like I said, you got your 01, CBI student not coded as disadvantaged or having a disability. Okay. Basically, okay, in terms of insist, okay, you want to make sure that in your FD record, okay, that your information is reported properly. And a lot of times you'll see disadvantaged and you'll also see your special ed. You want to make sure in the FD tab that that information is being coded properly. Okay, and in here, just to kind of give you a visual, if you guys can see my screen here, this is just a matter of going to your FD tab here, which it'll pretty much kind of show as soon as it loads. And for good old Mickey Mouse here, they are referring to here your disability and disadvantagement. Okay, so you just want to make sure that that is properly coded there. Okay, and like I said before, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But typically, they're just referring to that there. Okay, so that's where your basically your result code for your students would come from there. Okay. And down below, they give here a reference here of the FD section of the EMIS manual if you wanted any further questions to that. Okay. But like I said, typically it's located in your FD tab. For your 003, and this is in your student error result codes there. Okay. Typically, whenever you see this here, all right, you just want to basically just refer to your report. Okay. If the curriculum code is not VM, okay, the CT middle grade school courses can be students must be in grades level 7 and higher. Okay, you want to verify the student equivalent grade levels reported on the FD tab is correct. Okay, if it isn't, of course, it will still generate that error. Now, I know Lori and Brenda, when I was checking the chat on break, you guys were mentioning that you guys were getting funding or whatnot. So, like I said, typically that information is coming from your FD tab. Okay, so like I said before, check with the actual matrix for a good reference to use to make sure that your curriculum codes are basically matching and up to date. Okay, and also check with your Area 26 coordinators or whatnot to make sure that you have the proper subject codes and you're ready to go for the year there. Okay. This is just referring to for your 06 error code, your VP course does not have a valid subject code. Okay. This is going to result in a fatal. All right. Once again, you just want to make sure that your curriculum codes are pretty much matching up. Okay. And you want to verify that the subject code is valid for this VP course. Okay. All these subject codes are going to basically have you guys referring to your CT Area 26 coordinator for the program just to make sure that the codes match up and that they are approved and ready to go. Okay. And also, like I said, and Rebecca mentioned this before, as well as Sherry, to basically navigate to the matrix or whatnot to use as a reference. Okay. If you guys have any questions pertaining to the matrix, let us know. But I think that's a good tool to use. Okay. 09, okay, error report. And this is typically just referring to here on your basically just referring to, like I said before, all of these codes here are going to go right back to your Area 26 coordinator there. Okay. So a lot of times or whatnot, whenever you're looking at this actual result code, they're all going to be fatals for the most part. Okay. Your course with curriculum codes and related, correlated, and subject codes, and it gives you the subject codes listed below. They must be correlated to an anchor course with a curriculum code of VTCTE, and this is going to be for your tech prep, non-cooperative based anchor, or your VP CTE Tech Prep Cooperative Program Anchor. Okay, so you got your non-cooperative based anchor, and then you have your prep cooperative program anchor. Okay, now it does give you an opportunity to see the list of subject code options in the CTE FTE report explanation, but typically you just want to make sure this all goes back to your 26 and making sure you can skip all this and just say, hey, let me know if these, codes or these actual courses are good to go for the course of the year, because you don't want to get into the year and then it creates a whole bigger mess in terms of trying to get these actual courses approved and all that other, it just leads to problems. So typically handling this at the beginning of the year would be a good step there. Okay. Result code 0013. This is when the grade level is not valid for curriculum codes VM. This, of course, will create a fatal error. So you just want to verify students in this VM CTE middle school grade courses are in grades 7, 8, 9, or 10. The only exception is when students are enrolled in a course with a subject code of 990364 with the curriculum code of VM. They must be in grades 7, 8, or 9. So you want to verify student state equivalent grade levels reported on the student attributes tab are correct. That is the FD tab that I showed you for Mickey Mouse there. Okay. Grade level appears on the student error detail report as well for a quick reference. So if you want to navigate to your student error detail report there, okay, to look at this here, you can look at that as a reference. And you want to verify that your curriculum code of VM is correct. And of course, it's going to always refer you back to CTE 26. Okay. So making sure that basically the curriculum codes are correct is basically your Achilles heel. Making sure that's correct before you move on will save you a ton of time and stress. Okay. For 0014, this is the error result code that you'll receive. This is when a student's single course level is greater than the student's regular FTE. This is going to also produce a fatal. Okay. This all occurs, as well as you guys know, when the CTE FTE is greater than the regular base FTE. For your course level FTEs to be greater than a student regular FTE, this is due to the following: your incorrect student enrollment, duplicate course reporting, incorrect length of scheduled instruction, and the student being enrolled in a CTE course that generates a CTE FTE that is greater than the student's base FTE and is correctly reported, it should be ignored. So for all those who are getting this SC0014, if you are correctly reporting it and you don't find any issues or whatnot, okay, then go ahead and ignore that error. I got a ton of questions on those last summer or whatnot, and ODE was advising me to have you guys basically ignore the error, typically if the information is reported correctly. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for you guys as we move forward, especially into the heat of the moment with the summer. For 0015, students' total CTFT is greater than students' regular FTE. Okay.
Wait,
Yes.
we have a question in the room.
Yeah.
So this is Trisha, and I
Yes,
have
sir.
one of the 14s, but it's a student that never attended, but she didn't withdraw until after school started.
Mm-hmm.
And so should I report, like do a reported an error on her?
Yeah, if she never attended, then that should be a code 81 because that should be reported in error. I don't think that they should be on the books because what's going to happen is it's going to generate that over 1 FTE. So I would just use code 81 for that student to kind of, clear your record there of that result code.
Okay, and then so let me just clarify this as well, as far as withdrawal dates and things.
Mm-hmm.
Been under the impression, like, you don't withdraw them until you get the records request.
Right.
But at the beginning of school, when you know they're not coming, should you use a withdrawal date before school starts, or do you still use the withdrawal date of when you got the records requests?
Well, the technical answer would be if you get the records request.
Okay.
Now, if you know that they're not coming, okay, then it's kind of like you got to kind of play devil's advocate, right?
Well, because
Because
some schools start after us, so they're not gonna be in, you know what I mean? Some-
right,
But the parent has communicated, hey, we're not coming, we're going here.
that is true. But I have had, and I've seen this many a times, well, parents will tell you anything, and then sometimes
Right,
you do the exact opposite. You know what I mean?
right, so
So
that's what I said, we've always waited till you get the withdrawal request and use that date.
right. So if I were you, I would wait to the records request. Now, in typical situations like this here, where it's like, okay, I know they're not, like I know they're not going to be here, and I didn't get this till, this date. Then you got to kind of wait where I can use the code 81. You see what I'm saying? Or you say, for example, if you don't,
Right, so if
go
you
ahead.
use the later withdrawal date and you've already submitted, then you need to just make sure you go back and do the code 81.
Correct, because it's
Okay.
going to mess up your student data for the result
Right.
code. So you know what it's there. You can always go back and fix your data. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, okay,
Yep,
Thank you.
no problem. Any questions in chat before I move on? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. So for result code 0015, okay, like I said, typically this happens when the student's regular FTE, or excuse me, is the CTE FTE is greater, okay? So if the student's total adjusted CTE FTE is greater than the total regular base FTE multiplied by 0.1.1, then the student's total CTE FTE is reduced to be no more than the total regular based FTE. Now, I've seen a lot of cases with this result code also in the summer as well. There are situations, and it's just kind of particular situations where if you do see this, and let's just say, for example, the information that you guys have in the system is correct or whatnot, again, OD will just let me know to let you guys know just to ignore the error, regardless if you receive the result code or not. I know that's kind of crazy or whatnot. And, I was thinking there's another alternative, but I was instructed to let you guys know to basically go ahead and ignore the error. I don't know why with CTE, they typically will do that over the regular FTEs, but that's typically the response that we get from due. Okay. So just kind of letting you guys be aware. Was there a question in the chat, Shelly?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Amanda Hillsdale is getting a 0014 error for her JVS students that are coming to Hillsdale for one CTE class. Are these the ones that she should ignore?
Yeah. Now, typically now with Amanda, did they start at a particular time, like where they came like later on in the year, or maybe it was a situation where, they may have started at a certain time? Just curious.
She believes all year. They've been
All
there
year?
all year.
Yeah, then if they started at the beginning of the year, then you can typically ignore that error there. For some strange reason with do, and I don't know why they do this or whatnot, it always kicks back an error for 0014. And the thing is that, you know, if they're enrolled, okay, in that CT course, okay, and their base FTE is, reported, then I don't understand why it always generates that error. And then OD will tell us to ignore it. So I'm like, they need to fix that because that comes up all the time. And it's nothing that you guys do. It's just, I guess, in the data collector, how ODE calculates the FTE. You know what I mean? So I would just ignore it for now or whatnot, because like I said before, if your base FTE is correct, typically it will generate over one FTE, and it's not typically the case. So I would just ignore that error because there's not going to be nothing that you can do to basically correct that issue. Even if you try to, do dates or whatever, it's still going to come up with the same thing. So Amanda, I would just ignore that. You know what I mean? Because if I were to put that in the OD, they're going to tell me the same thing, just to ignore it because I don't know why it's generating like that. So,
She said, thank you.
okay, cool. For 0016, this is just represent that the subject code is not valid for the curriculum code VA or VB. Okay. Down below, they give you a list, and I don't know. I believe that this list was updated from the previous year, from last year. Okay. But they give you a list down below of subject codes that cannot be reported. Okay, with the curriculum code VA or VB. And down below, they list the subject code. So just basically highlight these codes here just to let you know if you do receive this result code message. These are the subject codes that they're basically referring to. Okay. So you just want to verify that your curriculum code and subject codes are reported correctly for this course as they appear on the CTE 26. Okay. Any questions pertaining to that, let me know. But this course code, I believe, was updated from the previous year. Okay. So if you have any issues or whatnot, please let me know. This information also is shared in the EMIS manual as well. Okay, as a reference. For 0017, this is for students who have a non-refundable fund patterning code. Okay. So you'll typically see the NFRG, which is your non-fundable situation, and then your NFER, which is your not fundable situation. This is based on errors in coding. Okay. So basically, a good reference to use, and I tell people this all the time, is to verify your information in ODEX. ODEX is a very, very good tool to use, okay, to go ahead and look at these actual funding pattern codes to see if basically what matches up and basically look at the student's history. Okay. Um, has anybody had any issues with looking in ODEX or basically using ODEX as a reference there? It's quiet, so I'm assuming no. But what you want to do is just verify the coding and the FS standing and your FD. Okay. So like I said before, you can also use that basically as a reference, or you can use ODEX as a reference as well. Okay. Any questions to using ODEX for this here? Any questions in the room or in the chat?
No, you're good.
Okay. So for 0019, this is for your negative CTE FTEs, okay? This is when a course taken by a student generates multiple CTE FTEs adjustments that result in the total adjusted CTE FTE for the course being a negative number. Then a positive adjustment is generated to bring the total adjusted CTE FTE for the course up to 0. Now, this here is very rare, okay? Like I said before, if they're typically taking a course or whatnot and it's generating multiple CT FTEs, put in a ticket with us, okay? Because I know that ODE was actually saying that this is another result code that they're working on here to try to get kind of caught up to speed with before the summer hits for summer reporting. So if you guys are coming up with that error, just let me know. And like I said before, I know that if it is generating a result code like this, ODE is working to try to, get those calculations under control before the summer hits. Has anybody been generating this actual result code here recently?
Trisha has some.
You have some? Okay, Trisha. Um, how many? Is it a couple? Is it a
I
couple
think
there?
there's 9, but I also think it's a course that's airing out.
Okay, okay. Just let me know, Trisha, or whatnot. Like you've been doing, you can email me, put in a ticket so I can look at them.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be a domino effect with the course or whatnot. But if it isn't, and if you have everything set up, I do know that I was aware that OD is working to get that result code resolved. Okay. So just let me
Okay.
know about the course.
Okay.
All right. For your student error result code, this is 0020. This is when the grade level is not valid for a senior only industry credential subject code. Okay. This is a new result code from EMIS change 23 through 84. Typically, you can look at these actual updates in the EMIS manual, which they update, like I said, throughout the summer. Okay. Students who are enrolled in a senior-only industry credential course must be in the 11th or higher for a dropout prevention recovery school, which a lot of you guys pretty much don't have there, and in grade 12 or higher for all other district types. You just want to verify the accuracy of the subject code, which you can basically verify in the course grade description or the GN records there. Typically, a lot of times you just want to verify your courses. Make sure that everything matches up, okay? And that would be just verifying your curriculum codes, verifying everything is set up. Now, I know sometimes your curriculum department sets these up, your counselor sets these courses up. Make sure that you guys are communicating with them because sometimes counselors just get happy-go-lucky and they'll just start creating stuff. You guys don't know about it, and then it creates a battle royal within your district to say, hey, what's going on with this course? The counselors say, I got it right. I don't want you guys, having a battle royal, whatever for that, but just want to collab with them just to make sure that all the courses are setting up and the curriculum codes are basically verified. Okay. For your 21 error result code, and this is for your industry credential only. Okay. And this is for dropout recovery schools here. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip that. I don't believe any of you guys in the room are getting the 0021. Am I correct? Because none of you guys have any dropout recovery issues. I don't want to jump ahead, but I don't believe any of you guys had this for the SC0021. 22 is also for dropout recovery here. Anybody having any issues or seeing 21 or 22 coming up in your actual reports? I don't think you guys had this at all.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. And to sum up here, are you using the CTFT report explanation to understand the errors? Does the EMIS data align with the CTE 26 and the CTE program and assessment matrix? And are you submitting updated EMIS data as changes are being made? Okay, so basically this is just a whole thing of making sure that your information is supported every other day. If you guys are feeling really good about yourselves, you can submit every day or whatnot to get the most accurate, updated information as possible. Okay, so just kind of throwing that out there for you guys in terms of a reference to use.
Tim, I do have a question.
Yeah.
You keep referring to area 26, and then like, they're talking about the CTE 26. Where do I find that? Or are they the same thing?
It's the same thing. I'm sorry if I'm using different terms.
No, that's okay, but where do I find that?
So the CT 26 is typically the area coordinators within the district. So for example, Trisha, for example, who is your area 26 contact? Do you know by off the top of your hand? Just throwing it out there.
Like, at ODE?
What was it? I'm sorry.
At ODE or at the school?
Well, the 26 coordinator is typically the career tech coordinator within like that area. So for example, ODE assigns a 26 coordinator for each region, right? That a district will go through, Shelly, to get programs approved, right? So it'd be courses, programs. Cheryl, do you deal with your area 26?
At the Wayne County Career Center, it's Andrew Cerniglia. He's the one who does most of the work with our CTE 26s and then the other districts.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Our county.
Yeah, I really have no idea. Our curriculum director deals with all that.
Okay, got you.
That
Yeah.
would make sense. It would be a curriculum.
go.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shelly. So that's typically from whoever sets up like if they have a curriculum department, they'll deal with someone that OD assigns in the region. Okay. And then they make the determination based off of the credentials that they may send and say, okay, hey, these courses are good to go, right? This teacher is good to go. You know what I mean? It's basically like a representative for each region in the state.
From like we're District 9, we have Sherman, is that different?
Yeah, I think
sounds
that's
like
more of
the
a
DT.
this
Yeah.
area coordinator, whereas this
That-
CTE person is someone in our district.
Right.
Our JVSD district.
But then some of the slides say refer to the CTE 26 for this program and to the CTE program and assessment matrix.
Well, the CTE 26 is the actual person assigned to the region. So that's them. Okay. The CTE program and assessment matrix, that's another tool that is used or whatnot to verify particular, like, curriculum codes and all that other good stuff. I can send that out to everybody just so you guys can
Well,
have
I put the program matrix in the chat,
Okay,
so
great. That's
you
great.
have that.
Okay, great.
But it's the CTE 26 that they keep referring to that says it appears on the CTE 26.
Right.
I was looking it up earlier and it took me to the CTE 26 page, but I didn't know like. There's like an application that
Yeah, it looks like it, so it says.
You have to have a certain role in ODEX to be able to get into the CTE 26.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay.
There we go. So we need to go to ODEC
Oh,
to
it's an
find
ODEX,
the
okay.
CTE.
Or not ODEX,
Sorry,
Data collector.
ODEs,
The high.
OHID?
OH, yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
And that's something each individual school sets up for themselves,
Right.
correct?
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Cheryl, let me ask you this. Is that also basically assigned to your regional, like, for example, who you guys are in contact with? So, for example, like, what I mean is when they look at the CT 26, is all that tied into the coordinator that you deal with to make sure that your programs are approved?
Don't know. As we have a regional CTE 26 coordinator, but
Mhm.
we have someone in our building that's part of their one of their assigned duties. And then depending on the area under which that career tech program falls, there are different contacts at ODE who we might reach out to for further assistance.
Gotcha.
Then there's an ag person maybe, or a business person, or
Yeah.
or the hard trades, the industrial.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Now, before I move on, does every other district have that, or is it pretty much your curriculum department deals with that? Because see, down here in Cincinnati, it's way different than what you guys were telling me up there.
Well, I know in a JVSD, which there are different flavors, there's different ways that career tech can be organized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But for a JVSD, we're like the lead district in our joint vocational school district, which is Wayne County. So our
Gotcha.
feeder districts work through us for any career tech program in their buildings as well.
Got you. Now, for example, in the chat, like, or in, who's on Zoom with Lori, who do you guys? I'm just learning all this. So with Lori, who do you guys deal with? Do your curriculum deal with that, as far as reaching out for approval with certain courses?
It's actually our high school principal.
Oh
But
wow.
he has
Okay.
a background in career tech, and it's also our curriculum coordinator.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Shelly, was there another question you had in the room?
I don't think so. No, just getting clarification.
Okay. Okay. Because down here in Cincinnati, it's way like how your districts do it up there. A lot of these districts down here don't even, it's like all through a coordinator down here. You know what I mean? So that's where I guess the confusion was. So I'm glad you guys cleared that up for you guys up there, because I know curriculum departments deal with it, but then it's like they go through a main person that OD has assigned to a region. You know what I mean? So thank you guys for clearing that up, because like I said, it just ran down here way differently. So um did you have any other questions to that, or
Yeah, I think we're good.
we're good? Okay. So understanding the CTE summary and then the CTE override reports, okay? And these reports are going to be your 004 and your 005 reports, okay? These are all going to come from your staff and course collections, okay? And typically or whatnot, you can open up the CTE FTE summary by the course and by the category reports. So for example, here they have it highlighted down below, which is your 004, 005, summary by course, summary by category. And then you have your CTEA 006. This is your CTE approved overrides. Okay. With your CTEA 004, this is your CTE FTE summary by course. This is going to be your 004 report. This is what you're going to see highlighted down below in the taskbar here. What basically this report is going to generate. So down below in columns D, you're going to have your local classroom code. Okay. And then far over in columns J and K, okay, you're going to see highlighted there, okay, the total course potential and then the actual FTE, excuse me. And then in columns K, your total course actual FTE, okay? So it gives you the potential and then what your actual FTE. So it's pretty much comparing what basically FTE you're actually getting as compared to what you could potentially be getting. So as you can see in columns K, you'll see all the FTEs being reported and your guys are getting the full credit, except for the 2 zeros that you see. So basically we know for those particular classroom codes there that the FTE there is not being generated, okay? And this would be in the tech courses there, all right? Basically, if they're different, we guys would know to go ahead and refer to the error reports, okay, to see what's going on, to see why that FTE is not being generated. But here it gives a pretty good visual as to why you're not receiving the full FTEs, okay? And then 005, and this is the summary by category. This is the summary report by FTE fund pattern code and the CTE fund category with the course potential and actual FTEs. Okay, so typically if you look at columns E, okay, you're actually going to see the total course actual FTE. So as you can see down below, we have 4 courses that are basically not receiving full FTEs for those courses. So that's just a matter of basically verifying on your course report there and on your actual reports to see why and these courses are being generated here with no actual FTE funding there. Okay. This basically not a funding flow report, as does not contain FTE inclusion codes or funding IRNs. Okay. So basically, what you have to do in this actual summary by category is look at columns D and E. Look at columns D for your potential, and then columns E and what you're actually receiving. Okay. We know if there's zeros, we know that there's an issue with the actual um, funding patterns that we have to look at and see how we can sit up there and get those actually corrected so we can get those total course actual FTEs, generated to where you're getting some type of FTE for those courses there. Any questions pertaining to this report here? Do you guys even use this report to navigate through your level 2s for this, for your summary by category? It's quiet, so I'm assuming there's no issues. Okay. For CTE overrides, this is when CTE EMIS data is correct and CTE errors are generated. Sometimes it is appropriate to request an override. Note that some CTE overrides are now automated. Okay, so there's no need to put in a request. Okay. And then they're basically letting you guys refer to April 11th, 2023 in the EMIS newsflash for more information regarding overrides. So if you guys have your EMIS newsflashes, which I'm pretty sure you guys do, the email that was sent out April 11th, and that was from 2 years ago. If you guys do not have that, I do have that information in my history. I can forward that out to you guys there. Okay. And that's just basically letting you know the updates that OD has done as far as with overrides. Once an override is approved, a CTE approved override report will be generated in the staff and course collection level 2 report. So you will see those overrides basically as a report in your level 2 reports. Okay. This is going to be under your L collection. Okay. For those who do not have the April 11th, 2023, please let me know and I can get that email out to you guys. Okay.
I'll send it with the follow-up, from the information that Cheryl sent to me.
Okay, cool. Okay, now keep in mind there is no notice given, okay, when the CT approved override report is generated. Okay, so districts will need to periodically check their reports to see if the override was approved. Okay, keep that in mind. So there is no news flash or anything like that. Okay, you just have to periodically check your level 2 under your L collection. The approved override will restore the CT FTE for students affected by the error, and the error will no longer appear in the CT error report. Note that an approved CT override will not correct issues on the teacher licensure course status report, and that's for short for your TLC. Okay, so like I said, periodically check your level 2s to see if you have any override reports to basically be generated, okay, as they will appear if the override was approved. Okay. Here's an example, and this is from your CT approved overrides report. This is your CTEA 006 report. As you can see in columns W, okay, it's going to have your adjusted FTE there. Okay, so the adjusted FTE column will contain the CT FTE amount that is being restored due to the approved override. So basically, this column is going to generate all the FTEs basically that was approved due to the override. Okay, so just want to make sure that you're checking this report from time to time. Okay, now, of course, if you do not see these reports here in your level 2, that either means A, that override has not been approved yet and is still pretty much in a waiting status there. When you receive it, just go to check in columns W for your adjusted FTEs. Now, has any of you guys done any CT overrides as of right now?
Yes, we got a couple.
A couple? Okay, great.
Me and Vicky.
Okay, great. And those have been approved and everything. Vicky, have you seen an increase in your FTEs there?
Yeah,
Okay, great. So have you identified an issue that may require a CTE override? If you guys have, you want to make sure that you get those basically looked at and reported right away. Have you contacted the Office of Career Tech to request an override? And did you check to see that a CTEA 006 CTE approved override report was received? If you guys are getting them, great. That means that everything is going through in terms of getting your CTE overrides approved. That's good news. So that means that there's FTEs that you guys are getting generated for funding there. So that's good news for you and good news for your district. Finally, for CTE FTE daily summary reports, and these are reports that are generated as well on your level 2 reports in your L collection, okay? These CTE FTE daily summary reports, these contain student CTE FTEs calculated from EMIS data that was processed on 10 specific dates, okay? Should be reviewed often to identify fluctuations in the amount of CTE FTEs being generated from specific submissions. Contain result codes that are not an indication of an error, but rather identify student education and funding situations, and are separated by educating and funding situations, which can be tied back to the CTE FTE detail report. Okay, so basically your summary reports, if you guys want a more in-depth analysis, you guys can also review your CTE FTE detail reports, okay, for a more, big version of a breakdown there, okay? This here basically lets you know what reports they are referring to, which is your CTEA 007, 008, and 009. For your 007, these are students district is educating. 008 would be your students initially funded at a district. And 009 is going to be your transfers. Okay, so they're all broken down into 3 separate categories. Okay, so pay attention to that. Some of you guys do have transfers for your 009. That report would be very beneficial for you to review daily to make sure that that report and that summary is up to date. It just kind of gives you, like I said, a breakdown on what you're looking at as far as from your transfer perspective. Okay. So up top, this is a snapshot here, okay, of basically your run dates, okay? So you want to basically pay attention to when the latest run was generated, okay, which would be in column H, as you see there. So it gives you the latest run date, column H. Column I is going to be the prior run date, okay? So basically, as you go along in these columns, you're going to see when these reports were ran, okay? So it kind of gives you a breakdown and say, okay, last run date, this is what I have, okay? And then the prior run date in column I, you'll see there. Now down below, you'll see the FTEs being generated there down below. So the second to last column, you'll see in column I a 27.829167. Now, that was pretty consistent in the prior runs, but in the latest run, you see it went down there to a 14.8. Okay, so typically what will happen is if there's any adjustments or anything made in your data that you're submitting, you're going to see that reflected in these reports. Okay, so I always say it's pretty vital that you guys review these. There's always stuff that's fluctuating or data that's fluctuating. So you just want to basically be aware and stay on top of these information here, because that's pretty beneficial in terms of if your district is gaining any FTE data, or excuse me, FTE funding, or if they're losing any. Okay. So just kind of giving you a heads up there on what to look at. Any questions pertaining to these reports here? Anything in the room, Shelly, at all?
No,
Okay.
but
No, go ahead.
no, I said we are good.
Okay, good. Okay. So for CT FT fluctuations, and like I mentioned before, okay, you will see in your latest run, they'll give you a total down below, right? So as you can see down below, they have highlighted there in the red box there, 108.217405. Okay. Now, typically or whatnot, if there is any adjustments, you guys will see that down below in that last column there. Okay. So in your prior run date, as you can see, you were pretty consistent for the previous 3 submissions. So it was at 121.217.405, previous 3 submissions, and then it went down. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there was some fluctuation depending on if, for example, maybe it was some students or whatnot who may have withdrew, students who may have been, moving around, students in the course data. It's anything basically pertaining to the information that you submitted recently that will give a fluctuation to your data. Okay, that's all reflective on the data that you're submitting from Gradebook. So again, if you guys had any changes prior to your submission or whatnot before, and then like say, for example, a student withdrew or whatever the case may be, you're going to see some fluctuations. So like I said before, you just want to make sure that you're navigating through the report to make sure that your information does not change. If it changes, you know that there was something going on with the particular student, right? So you just want to make sure that you just stay on top of that. That's pretty much what this is, okay? Have you guys been checking this here in the room? Just show of, not show of hands, but has it remained consistent throughout the year? Just curious.
Getting some head nods, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay.
I mean, I would. Okay.
What was it? I'm sorry. Was that a question?
I
I'm
just
sorry.
forgot to mute.
Fluctuated, stayed about the same, except for when I forgot to submit our calendar at the beginning of the year.
Oh, oh man, Vicky. Yeah, we're gonna have to get some Starbucks.
I think
Yeah.
that's my problem was with all our funds towards the beginning of the year.
No, I was gonna say, oh, Vicky, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we're going to get some coffee for that.
I won't
Okay.
do that again, Tim.
Yeah, no, you're good. Listen, I don't want a sleepless night with that again. Okay. So, error severity codes. As you guys will see, you guys will also notice, okay, when you're looking at your 30-day average value and compared to the value from the latest run, to draw attention to differences that may be of concern. So, for example, you'll see your latest run in column H, which they have highlighted here. Okay, and this was done as of February 20th of 2025. Okay, now in column C, okay, you'll see if it's informational, warning, or critical. A lot of times when you get a warning, it's typically when you see a slight deduction, right? So for example, in columns Q, you'll see a 30-day average, right? If you see a slight adjustment, it'll be informational. But if you see something where it's kind of like, a bigger adjustment than I would say over 0.5, typically it generates a warning. Anything which critical, it's usually a big jump. So as you can see your 30-day average in columns Q, you'll see a 26.139, all the other good stuff there. And column H, it's a big, big reduction, right? So we know to go back and check to see like, hey, what's going on? Is this something that's going on? Like I said, it could be pertaining to students within your district. Maybe they have, they have moved or whatever the case may be. It's going to give you an adjustment. Down below where it says warnings, indicate a decrease of 5% to 10, which I indicated below with the warning that you see there, from the 9.3 to the 8.8. Okay, but not to 0 or an increase of 20% or whatnot. You will see in critical, for example, for critical, it says indicates a decrease of 10% or more. From the 26.1 to the 14.8, that is a big jump. Okay, so something has happened within the course of the last time you submitted within that 30-day average. Please, 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 I advise to check this out weekly. Okay, because like I said before, typically now all the students are pretty much kind of set in stone. I don't see a lot of movement going on around this time. Okay, but sometimes there could be, and it could cause a fluctuation in your data. So you just want to check and verify, sometimes twice a week, just to make sure that that stays the same, because that's a good indication that you guys are getting all the appropriate funding that's necessary. Okay. Any questions pertaining to this report here for your severity codes? Okay, I'm take that as a no.
I have some that have zeros all the way across.
I have one.
But they show up on the report.
like category 2.
Yeah,
and
that's
4.
Okay, and what type of code are you receiving there? Is it which kind of code is it? Is it like a 07, 007, 008?
9007.
007.
Wow, so that should not be straight zero. So that means it's something that's going on with the courses. Okay. So this is tied to, like I said, like the course are you receiving still some course errors there?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all kind of tied in. Let me know what those courses are. Is that Trisha?
Yes,
Okay, let me know, Trisha, what those courses are so I can look that up because
Okay.
that shouldn't be,
And take it.
yeah, that's not, I'm kind of concerned about that because it shouldn't be seeing zeros
I
unless.
think like the 4, if I remember from what we looked at earlier, was my middle school students mostly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We're not getting funding for those CTEs, so that would make sense, but I'd have to go back and look what the 2 and the 3s are.
Okay, yeah,
Get my
let me
course
know.
from.
Okay, let me know about those because that's not, okay,
yeah, you
that's
have
concerning
zeros
to me.
as well.
Yeah, for like 2s.
Tia also has zeros for her 2s.
For twos, okay, yeah, send me those, Tia, so I can look at them because you shouldn't be having those. And I think that's probably tied to your courses as well. So let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So here for your CTA, and this is your 007 report. This is your student district that's educating there. This includes your CTE FTEs for students the LEA is educating, regardless if the district is initially funded or if the funding will transfer to another LEA. So down below, you'll see a result code typically on this report for your 007 report. You're going to see a SC0100, okay? This is basically meaning that the students the district is educating. Okay. So all this report is going to do is just basically give you a basic breakdown of what students your district is educating. Okay. And it's basically going to give you your latest run from column H all the way down. Okay. So your latest run, which was the 220, which they show you an example there, 219. So basically, it's going to give you a play-by-play of what you guys have been receiving FTEs and full funding for. Okay. So you guys want to typically check this out just to make sure everything is kind of matching or basically is pretty much staying steady or the same. If something is off, that means that something is going on where we need to kind of look at everything there from your courses to staff to make sure that everything aligns up. Okay. Any questions on this report so far? This is just a general report that you guys should receive to indicate that you guys are receiving your FTEs there. Okay. Your 008 report. This is for students initially funded at the district. This is going to include CTE FTEs of students for which the LEA is initially funded. And this displays your CTE and FTEs as initially funded in positive amounts. Okay. So down below on this 008 report, it's pretty much the same as your 007 report. It's going to give you a breakdown in terms of what those result codes are. Your SC110, those are no transfer of funds. SC0120, funds transferred to a JVSD, and 140, funds transferred to another district. Okay, so you'll have a result codes in columns D. Okay, just pay attention to those result codes. Okay, if you have a 110, you're good. 120, you know that those funds are being transferred to JVS. Typically, all this is set up here in terms of for those particular students or whatever the case may be. So if you guys are having students or whatnot that are being educated in JVS, Cheryl, do you have a lot of those result codes for 120 for you? Is Cheryl still there?
Mine look good.
Okay, okay. So like I said before, pay attention to your result codes in this 008 report just to make sure that everything aligns up. If it doesn't, then we have an issue on your error severity code that we need to look at. But typically this should be kind of standard or whatnot, especially at this time of year. For your 009 report, this is for your transfer students now. This includes CTE FTEs that will either transfer in or out from the district receiving the report. this is going to be positive or negative amounts. And this is going to include CTFTs for students who are non-open enrolled in, and this is going to be initially funded elsewhere. Then funding is transferred to the educating district. This is going to be a positive amount. If you receive a result code for 180, that's the non-open enrolled out, initially funded, then funding is transferred to the educating district. This is a negative amount. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, so the 009 transfer report is just going to be for those who either transfer in or out from the district receiving the report. Okay, so for those who have transfers or whatnot, you want to pay attention to this next slide here. Okay, now for your 009 report, it gives you a snapshot here. On column F down below, it gives you your result code. Like I mentioned before, you got your 170 and your 180, and it's going to give you your transfers in and transfers out. So that's letting you know if you're receiving positive or negative amounts. Okay. And then down below, like I said before, in columns J going all the way down, you can see your latest run going all the way to prior weeks and prior days. So you just want to make sure that you're looking at this report. If there's any discrepancies, you have this report here at your discretion to use. So you can sit up there and see what positive and negative amounts that the district is receiving. Any question to this report here? Anybody having any issues with this report?
Nope.
Okay.
But
So to summarize here, are you checking your daily summary reports often to avoid any negative impacts on CTE funding? Can you identify individual students in the daily summary reports by filtering the CTE FTE Detail report? And are you sharing these reports with others in your district? Typically, when you're sharing these reports, it can sometimes be, like I said, with the treasurer, because he's always looking at the funding, right? And your curriculum department to make sure that basically all your codes and everything align with what you're reporting. Okay. So to summarize here, your CTE reports contain data to verify and issues to correct. The troubleshooting process requires interaction between the CTE and FTE detail report and the error reports. You want to use the CTE FTE summary reports to verify data and to compare from previous versions of the reports. And you want to confirm that corrections have been made in the source system and that the new EMIS data has been submitted for CTE reports to be updated. Okay. So like I said, basically just verifying your data, getting with the right departments in your district. Okay. And just making sure that everything aligns can lead to less stress, as like I said, we're getting down to the stretch run for summer reporting. So like I said, the more or less stress you have, right, the better. Here's some contact information for the Office of Career Tech, okay, at ODE, okay? And like I said before, it kind of gives you some links and some contacts to use for override questions and all that other good stuff there. Okay, so keep this for your records here. And here are some more resources or whatnot that you guys can use, and they have some links there. They have the EMIS manual, like I said, that gets updated throughout the summer, so you guys want to pay attention and close look at that. And are there any questions or concerns pertaining to this or whatnot for today? I know this was a long report, so I try to get everything in, or Alliance training. So I try to get everything in within the 2 hours, but I can see we went over a little bit.
I don't see anything. I'm gonna throw the feedback link in the chat. So if you guys wanna hang on 1 second, I'll get that in there for you. I just had it up, now I lost it. Here it is.
And Cheryl, if you're still there, send me that information too, so I can look at it too. Always looking to kind of get up to date on stuff too as well, from what you guys may have.
That's for the career check.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send it to the EMIS group, not just
Okay,
who
okay.
attended.
Okay, cool.
Anybody have any questions? And those on chat, or in Zoom, I put that in the chat for you, so you can fill out the feedback form. And then our next session is next week, I believe, April 10th. Can't believe it's April. For the CTE concentrators. So that should be a shorter session.